When I make the beanies for Bravery hat, I started with a magic loop like I do my other hats, but it's just a little bit different. I've tried a bunch of different ways starting this new pattern by Michele Miller, which I just dearly love, and I wanted to share it with you. I'm going to use pink to demonstrate on. Please don't send me a pink hat. It's just easier to show you how I do it. When I start my magic loop, and there's lots of different ways to do a magic loop, and this is just mine, so feel free to start any way you want. This is just a suggestion. So I take my yarn tail in my right hand, and I am right-handed, so I'm going to wrap it around my left hand. I'm going to wrap the yarn around my pinky, up over my top finger, and put my two middle fingers together and wrap the yarn around it twice. And put it on my pinky and hold it in place with my thumb. Let me show you one more time. You can grab your yarn and do this along with me, and it makes it easier to understand sometimes. I'm holding the yarn tail in my right hand. I'm going to wrap it around my pinky, up over my top finger, and then twice around my middle fingers. Hold it in place with my thumb, and I'm going to grab my hook. And we're using an eye hook, and to slide it underneath both of the strands that are wrapped around my fingers, I'm going to grab this yarn that's back here. So this one is hiding back here. I'm going to grab it, yarn over, and pull it through. Now this is just attaching the yarn to my hook. So like if I was just getting ready to start a pattern, I hook the yarn to my hook and then I would chain. So that's what I've done here. It's not a chain, it's just hooking the yarn to my hook. So the pattern calls for 8 half double crochet in the first stitch. It says to start with a magic loop and then chain 2. So what I started doing is I just do the 8 half double crochet right into this little contraption. So after I have hooked the yarn to my hook, I'm going to chain 1 because it is a half double crochet. Then I'm going to yarn over underneath both, pull it through, and then yarn, and then pull my yarn through. Now this is a little awkward because I'm trying to show the camera, but I'm going to yarn over, go underneath both strands, pull it up, and then pull through all the loops on my hook. So there's 2, and I need to do 8. So here is 3, 4, and yes, it just fell off my hook, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then before I pull it off my fingers, I'm going to check and make sure I have 8 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then I can pull it off, and I have my yarn tail. So I'm going to hold onto those first stitches and grab onto my yarn tail, and I'm not going to pull it closed. I'm just going to gently pull it to see which one of these 2 strands starts to move. And then once I see that it's this one, I'm going to grab onto it and pull it closed. So see how it pulls that one yarn, starts to pull it closed. Then I grab back onto my yarn tail the whole time I'm holding on to it, and I'm going to pull it closed. Okay, now I'm ready for the next step, and it says to do 2 half double crochets in the first stitch. Okay, well sometimes it's kind of hard to see. Is this the first stitch? Is this the first one? Where do I place that first stitch? Well, I can always start at the last and count my way back to find where my first stitch is, because before I took it off my fingers, I counted and I knew that there were 8. So if I start with 8 right here next to my hook, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I know that this is where I'm going to put it, and this was that chain 1 that I did to get it up to a half double crochet. So I'm going to hold on to that so I remember where I'm going to put it. I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to do a half double crochet in that first stitch. And it says to do 2, so I'm going to do another half double crochet right in that same stitch. Okay, so let me show you from the very beginning again. I'm going to take the yarn tail and to wrap it over my pinky, up over my top finger, and twice around the middle. I'm going to hold it in place with my thumb. And take my crochet hook, put it underneath both strands, grab from behind, and pull it through. And I have attached my yarn. Don't count that as a chain, it's just attaching the yarn. I'm going to chain one. Now if I was just doing single crochets, or I would, if it just called for to chain a certain amount, I would just do a regular single crochet, but I'm doing half double crochets, so I'm going to do another chain right there. Then I'm going to yarn over and do a half double crochet, and that's my first half double crochet. I'm not going to count anything before that. That's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know this looks kind of awkward, but you really will love it once you get used to it. 7, 8. Make sure I have my 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do, so I take it off my fingers, grab onto my yarn tail, and I'm going to hold on to my stitches. I'm going to pull until I can see which strand is starting to move, and it's this one, so I'm going to grab onto it and then pull from down at this end, not from up here, but down at the beginning. I'm going to pull my ring closed, and then I'm going to grab on the other one and pull it so it's nice and closed. Then figure out which stitch I'm going to put my first half double crochet in. Since we're working in a continuous spiral, remember, we're not going to slip stitch into that. We're just going to place our first stitch, and it calls for 2 half double crochets. So I'm going to do 1, 2, and I'm just going to keep working around until I have the 16 stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6. On the first round, I usually just count before I put my stitch marker. 8, because there's fewer stitches. 9, 10, 11, and 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So I'm going to count, and I start at my hook because that's an obvious where a stitch is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So there's my first stitch. Now, what I do to mark my place, because we're working in a spiral, I need to remember where the end of my row is. So I'm going to take my yarn tail. I've got this, when you do a magic loop, you end up with a little bit more yarn left over. So I'm just going to place it right there at the end of the row. So then as I work my way around and I come back to that yarn tail, I know that's where I need to stop. So the next round calls for half double crochet 1 in the first, and then 2 half double crochet in the next. So I'm going to yarn over and do 1 half double crochet, and then I'm going to put 2 in the next. Now I kind of count mine as I go so I remember. So instead of just saying there's 1 and then I'm going to do 1, 2, I kind of count it a little differently. I do 1, then I'm going to do 2, 3. And the reason I do that is because if I did 1, and then if I start counting 1 again here and get interrupted, I have 1 in my mind, and so I might just do 1 single crochet there. I mean 1 half double crochet in this one, and then do 2 in the next. But if I've got 2 in my mind, I know that I need to finish with 3. So 1 in the next, and then 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and I check to see where in my end, and I still have a couple more to go. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And I finished my pattern of 1 half double crochet, 2 half double crochet in the next. And here's my strand, so I know that I'm back to the beginning of my row. I can just pull that out, place it back over so I know when I get back to it again. But look how nice. It just has a nice beginning. I don't have a big gap at the top. It lays nice and flat. So I've kind of combined the first 2 steps. The first step was to do the magic loop or a chain 2. Then the next step is to do 8 half double crochet in that. So I just did a magic loop of 8 half double crochet right at the beginning. I hope that works for you.